So let me switch to this for a second. So a claim is an assertion made by a trusted authority, in our case by a domain controller, about a user or a computer. So typically, we would use, when you log on, the domain controller gives you a token, right? A Kerberos ticket. Many of you know that, right? Tickets, something that they give you. And that ticket contains a list of all your groups. But now it not only contains a list of your groups, but it contains a list of other tokens, i.e. claims. It not only says that you're a member of domain users of this and that group, but it also says that your department attribute is set to IT, your employee type is full-time employee, and so on and so forth. And you can control which attributes are going to be used in this security authorization process. Previously, we're only using group membership. Now we can use any attributes. Now, let's just go back and have a look at this in a little bit greater detail. So my test user 1 organization is really set department IT. So I don't member off and do all these bits. I just modify the department value. Now, this has been pre-created, as I've said. We go into dynamic access control. We say claim types, and we need to define what Active Directory attributes do we actually allow to be used as claims. What can be a claim eventually? We don't want telephone number to be a claim, right? But I defined a couple of bits here. There was a question about, can we use machine? Yes, we can. We can, for example, say there's an attribute called location, and that's just for computers. I'm going to create a claim for a machine. And it can be located in 2 locations. It's the office. Possible value for the machine's location is for every computer, if I define its location as office or mobile, I can use that parameter to delimit access to resources. So let me do just that. Computers, this is my Windows 8 client. Location here, I'm just going to say mobile. I have a computer to make this thing work. Windows 8 client where we had a user log. Claims. So you know this command, who? A typical question on a Saturday morning. I won't go into details if it's for you. Okay. Who are you? That's a good one. Good, good. So this command can show me a list of groups that I'm a member of. But apart from that, it has been expanded in Windows 8, and it can also show me my claims. Who am I/claims. And it goes into your Kerberos ticket, and it looks what claims you have in your list. And it shows me that my employee type is full-time employee, and my department is IT. Now, if I go to my demo folders, oh, I can't access the IT folder. Why? What did I do? Well, I haven't clicked OK. Sorry about that. Yeah, clicking OK is the key sometimes. Back to my client. Much better. So now I control access to my folders, not based on any security groups. I don't need them anymore. I can just use Active Directory attributes instead. If you want to get reports of who got access to what folders, that would be a good question because you got me. That would be a good question because I would start asking you questions. What do you want to include in that report? And then eventually I would just write you a PowerShell script that would extract data for all users for their claims, their group membership, go across ACLs. It's the same story. We manage permissions the exactly same way. We just don't use groups anymore. We use Active Directory attributes instead. As far as reporting goes, you do it exactly exactly the same way as you did it before, if it existed, but I would just say use PowerShell script to iterate through the folders. I think File Server Resource Manager has some reporting capabilities. I'm not 100% sure it includes what you're looking for.
Can you use the custom attributes?
You can use custom attributes indeed. Now, let me get to the, there's so many questions about DAC you can ask, guys, seriously. This can be a 2-day session about DAC, seriously. I want to show a couple of more cool things. Wouldn't it be great to control access not only based on who we are, but also based on what are we trying to access? Like, if a file has confidential information in it, who should be able to access the file? Like, people who we trust, not some average John Doe, right? But how do you classify a file right now? Is there any mechanism to differentiate files based on their content?
Yes, WebSense solution.
Huh?
WebSense solution.
WebSense solution. What does it offer?
Web
Web filtering for web stuff. Does it offer for file shares?
email, Fi, fingerprinting.
Okay, cool. Good to know. I didn't know about that one. Have to research though. I'll show you a couple of tricks what we have in the box. Do they cost something?
100K.
I've just saved you all 100K. So, non-confidential data. Grass is green. Right? How do you now know this is not confidential data? Oh, it says so. Some data. I'm just going to put this into a folder called some data because I'm going to be using permissions then. Non-confidential data. I'm going to go ahead into properties and note the new tab called classification. You can go ahead and you can classify a file. I'm just going to say the file's confidentiality is low.
Who does that?
Well, I just did it manually.
Who does that?
Huh?
Who's created the documents? Who does that?
Typically, there are several ways. First, a user can do it manually, classify a file like that. It can be done automatically. Hopefully, we can get there if I can do all the demos in 5 minutes. Now, the next file I'm going to create is a text document called confidential data. And the confidential data is going to be that. Cows say moo. Don't stop the recording for that bit. Nobody has to know. And that confidentiality is high. And I'm just going to create a folder which is not classified, unclassified. It's gonna rain. What did I just do? I just screwed something up. How could I delete a folder with... sorry, I'll have to do this again. Huh? Oh, the classic recycle. See, thanks for that. Because we're so used to the Active Directory recycle bin, we forget about existence of a regular one. Thank you. You've just saved 5 minutes of my presentation. Let me just see that the classification remains. Yeah, it is still there. So now let's control some access. Let's define some permissions. And I'm going to go to the familiar UI, and I'm going to go through the familiar trick. Authenticated users have modify access to this. Now, we're going to define some conditions. If the resource is low or no confidentiality, do we need to limit access to it? Nah. So if a resource confidentiality is less than moderate, then you have access. Then this condition matches. Or if the resource confidentiality is more, greater than or equal to. Sorry. If the resource is more or less confidential, you have to be a full-time employee to be able to access this. So I'm just going to add a condition here, user employee type equals full-time employee. Still not enough. If you look at the Boolean logic here, it doesn't work because rules, I need to have these two together. So I'm going to go ahead and say manage grouping, and I'm going to group these two rules together. So if this or that match executes, we're going to have access. If the resource confidentiality is less than moderate, good. Or if resource confidentiality is greater than moderate and user employee type is full-time employee, he's got access. Make sense? I know it's 4:30, you guys. It may not make sense, but just say it does. You've just done it. Okay, sorry. Anyways, we're going to go ahead. Click OK. Remember to click OK. That's important. Let's have a look at our users. We got Contoso user, test user 1. Employee type is a special attribute. It's not visible through the standard UI, but it's visible here. So employee type of test user 1 is full-time employee. Employee type of test user 2 is int, i.e. for intern. He's like a little nobody there. Now, sorry for all the intern. Worked too long in the corporation. Sorry, let's take my blue badge away. Make me an intern for a day. Now, we are logged in as test user 1 already, so we can go ahead and try to access to these files. So we got to some data. What else? What did I forget? No, shouldn't be. Some data, property, security to it. So I forgot something. Authenticated users. Oh, right, if the resource confidentiality doesn't exist. Confidentiality, and I just need another condition if, or, I did forget some of mine. Manage grouping. So I need to group those. Forgot those bits and pieces. User, if the resource confidentiality does not exist, then we get access to it. Because the folder itself doesn't have resource classification, so we should, yeah, so I forgot that bit.
Can you export all those conditions and apply?
PowerShell? Lots of things are going to be oh, there we go, straight away. Some data, confidential data, yay, cows say moo, non-confidential data, grass is green, and then unclassified. Maybe not, but whatever. Test user 2. Remember, we've set up one share with one permission, with one set of permissions. And then within that share, depending what kind of data we're accessing, some data we have access, non-confidential data we can access, unclassified data we can access, confidential data, sorry, access denied. Yeah, magic, yes. Yes, that's what I want to hear. Good. Let me finish off the magic a little bit. This is one little touch here. I know we're running late, so I'm going to cut my demo short. For my demo folders, I'm going to enable a feature called access-based enumeration. It's been there for quite a while. But now once this thing is enabled, have a look. Oh, I clicked something wrong. The user doesn't even see that file he doesn't have access to. Well, this feature has been around, but it starts to make sense now. Starts to make a lot of sense now. Now another cool thing, which is probably going to do the last of the demos here, how File Server Resource Manager allows us to classify files automatically. Users don't want to classify files manually, right? We need to implement some controls that will allow us to create automatic classification. And we can create classifications. Confidential data classification. We define what kind of folders we're going to be looking at, and we're just going to say we observe all of our demo folder contents. And here there are 3 types of classifiers. First classifier, basically everything that's under that folder that I've specified in the previous window it's all going to get classified in a way. It's going to go through, it's going to comp through every single file there, and it's going to classify it in a way. Now, this is a bit boring. The content classifier is fun, because this is where File Server Resource Manager is going to open up the file, look at its contents, and if it finds something in that content, it's going to classify it in one or other way. For example, it's going to set. And the way we look for contents is via a regular string match, a regular expression match, or file name pattern match. I'm going to write a little regular expression here. Whoever knows what this does, cry out loud. Oh, cool. Regex buddies. Okay, so a number of 0 to 9 repeated 4 times, then a dash, a number of 0 to 9 repeated 4 times, kind of 4 of those. I'm just going to put a regular expression here, and off I go. Now, I also need to enable automatic background classification. Otherwise, it only runs scheduled. I just want to enable it to run automatically in the background. Select, I want to run it on Saturdays and in background. Now, as soon as I create a file, thing's going to happen to this one. How I'm going to create the file, not important. I'm going to count to 5. So this file, the previous file that I had, that I just a random file that I created really, it's not. However, this file that I've created that has some credit card data, high confidentiality straight away. So you can configure, probably in every organization, you know the Word documents that you produce in such thousands, they all have a header or footer saying company internal, company high business impact, moderate business impact. Come on, write a PowerShell content classifier that's going to look for that string and classify files immediately. Now, okay, regular expressions are not for the faint-hearted. So there's another way. You can create a rule that is going to be a Windows PowerShell classifier. So what's going to happen here, every time, when we run the classification task, we're going to comb through all the files, and we're going to launch a PowerShell script, which is going to open up the file in any way you've seen it, analyze it in whatever way you want to code it in your PowerShell script, and then just give out the ranking, good, medium, bad, or whatever other classifications you want to assign. And you can manually classify, well, you can automatically classify files based on what your PowerShell script decides, based on their content. What kind of files these are, open up if they contain a database, if they contain a what. It's basically your creativity that can take you miles. Yeah?
What about PDFs, for example?
Good one. We only can parse the files for which we have I think it's called basically a search engine extension that has a special provider so that we can open it up and crunch it. PDFs, I'm not 100% sure. I'm quite sure about the Word documents, that we can process those. It's called an ITIF, iView, something along those lines. Not 100% sure on that one. Ping me later, I'll find you the right name. iFilter, very good, thank you. As soon as you have an iFilter installed on the machine, you can parse those files, them up, and look at its contents. If it's a JPEG file, unfortunately, we won't be able to identify any credit card information written in Paint. That's a limitation of the current operating system. We're looking to fix that in maybe some later Windows version. That was a joke. PowerShell script is going to have those parameters who stored the file. And if that user's a member of this and that, classify it in a given way.
Can you limit printing on the
You can enforce RMS. Well, as soon as you classify the files first, you can. The second thing that FSRM can do, it can induce an RMS encryption on top of that, and there you can limit printing and limit other activities to it.
Exchange also? And talk to Exchange server, not attached to the email.
I'm not sure on how the RMS implementation works. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not sure. I'm not as proficient in RMS as I am in Active Directory. Now, last day, I promised that one. What do you do? Okay, let me put it this way. How useful? I'm going to need to disable access-based enumeration. Just sit tight. Give me 2 minutes, and you're going to be free to go. Demo folders. I need to disable access-based enumeration. That's a cool feature, but it doesn't help me with my next demo. Now, client refresh. Did I click OK? Fuck, I didn't click OK. Sorry. Properties. Oh, I did click OK. I just need to log.
Some data. Go one folder down.
Huh?
Go one folder down into some data.
No. I'm looking for some other folder. But basically, let me just log on and log. Looking for. There's this no access folder. If you open that, it says Windows cannot access this folder. You don't have permission. Then my favorite part of this message is contact your network administrator to request access. Right? That's the right person to contact, isn't it? Now watch how we can change this. There's Windows. Access denied assistance. You will find probably it all in the slide decks. You can configure the text that the user is going to see when they hit a folder they can't access. And you can configure email requests just like in SharePoint to enable users to request access to a folder when they don't. Right? Customized message. Request assistance. Poof. An email is sent to the file server administrator, to the file share owner, saying a user XY requests access to this folder. He has these permissions. Help him out or tell him to go away. Just like in SharePoint. Huh? I don't have SMTP yet. It can't send a request because I don't have an email server configured. Come on. But at least the request should have gone out to the appropriate people. The whole idea here is that when we try to hit a share to which we don't have access to, we see not a standard generic message, but we see something advanced.
The person who receives the mail, say the file share owner, do they have some way of remediating this or go back to someone else?
Depending on what permissions they have. So they will see who tries to access, what his group membership and what his claims are. 12, you can actually use a feature called effective access, which is going to show you access to a given folder. Of why a given user, what permissions a given user will have when he's trying to hit a certain folder. And it will tell you, does he have read and why does he have read? Or what else is needed for that user to get access. Now we ran a little bit short on time and I ran too long anyways. Bottom key message for this. Dynamic access control, we're no longer tied to security groups. We're tied to, you pick it, right? You define what attributes control permissions and access to resources in your organization. You can control who has access resources, from which device they're accessing that. This is something I promised to show but never did, so let me just correct my mistake. So here go again. Just last thing. So we will only have access to this file if we're accessing this from a machine which is located in the office. We can define who gets access to resources, not based on their security group, from where they can access the resource, for example, what kind of device they have to be on, and also what kind of resources they're accessing. A huge, huge change and a huge improvement from the legacy groups and really legacy groups that we had in the past. Pretty much end for me. Thanks very much. Time-wise.